Ashley Banfield, newest member of the Court TV
Hello.
family. I'm going to be saying that for a while, just in case people didn't tune in the last few nights and don't have the internet at home. Ashley, there's a trial, a preliminary hearing coming up on this case involving the missing children in Idaho for Lori Vallow-Daybell. And we now got our hands on that witness list.
Yep.
Really interesting as we go through that list of 50 potential witnesses. And obviously, there's several names that jump out to me and to you. The first one being Lori Vallow-Daybell's husband, Chad Daybell. How on earth do we think prosecutors plan on calling a husband, subpoenaing a husband to testify against his wife?
What an excellent question, Vinny, because obviously you, as an astute lawyer, know that you cannot be forced to testify against your spouse, or can you? It turns out, actually, with this witness list, Vinny, there are some exceptions in Idaho. And actually, we dug up the statute because I know that your viewers like the specifics. Here's one of the exceptions. In a criminal or civil action or proceeding, a communication relevant to an issue concerning the physical, mental, or emotional condition of or injury to a child, or concerning the welfare of a child, including but not limited to the abuse, abandonment, or neglect of a child. So in that kind of a circumstance, you don't get the privilege. And there's a second circumstance of exception. In a criminal action or proceeding in which one spouse is charged with a crime against the person or property of a person residing in the household of either spouse. And I think it's fair to say that Tylee and JJ could be considered people residing in that house. And by the way, this witness list is about 50 people long, and it doesn't just pertain to the upcoming preliminaries. It also pertains to the grand jury, and it also pertains to any kind of trial that might actually happen. So I would be fascinated to hear what Chad has to say. But let's not forget, he also has the Fifth Amendment privilege, right?
Well, how does that play out now? And for him to assert the Fifth Amendment privilege is now admitting to a certain extent to investigators that he knows something and is involved in something and could perhaps face a potential criminal prosecution for something. So this is going to be an absolute tight walk for Chad Daybell and his attorneys. But I think it's probably the most important witness in all of this, right?
My opinion, yes, because they went off to Hawaii together, and then they were caught together, and she was arrested while she's with Chad Daybell in Hawaii. The whole thing kind of revolves around this couple. Both of them have dead spouses, for God's sake. One of them has two dead spouses in the last 2 years. So, yeah, I think the most fascinating one will be Chad Daybell, but that doesn't mean that her son isn't going to be an important witness.
Yeah, well, she has a son, Colby Ryan, who I believe is from husband number, I think it's husband number 2.
4.
Not quite
3.
sure, but I think it's
4. Sorry, yes.
No,
4. Wait,
no,
4, 3.
No.
How are we having
No.
this conversation?
I think three was Ryan, but he was the son of the husband that she had for a short time before Ryan, even though he took Ryan's name.
Let's take
a listen to Cole. Yeah, it's very confusing. I mean, she has more last names than I think I have suits upstairs. But let's take a listen to Colby Ryan, oldest son, husband number 2 of Lori Vallow-Daybell.
What could she have done? Where could JJ and Tyler be? You know her mind, how it works.
Not anymore. I don't know how her mind works anymore. I used to be able to call her anytime and talk to her anytime about anything, and that's not the case anymore,
So the question here, Ashley, is going to be where's his allegiance? I mean, hopefully it's to the truth, right? But does he have allegiance to his mother or to his half-siblings?
Yeah, our old colleague, Jack Ford, who's just, a wealth of knowledge, used to tell me regularly, a courtroom is like a real-life drama taking place, and this is why. A guy like Colby Ryan, who has a mother who is facing some very serious charges, right? Has a sister, Tylee, who is missing. So, yes, he's got split allegiances, and that won't be lost on the courtroom or the jury. Will he be considered a hostile witness? I'm not so sure, because given what he said to Dr. Phil, he said My mom has always talked about the end of the world or the second coming. It just seems like she doesn't care about anything. He also told a Fox affiliate, a reporter named Justin Lum, that he visited her in jail and told her to do the right thing. So that sounds like someone who may have the allegiance to the truth or to a better angel anyway.
All right. Also on the witness list, JJ's grandparents, Kay and Larry Woodcock. Let's take a listen to what they have to say, because they have a lot to say about Lori Vallow.
I have never seen this in my lifetime. And look, I've been in business 45 years, and I can tell you right now, I've been lied to. And I don't know how she keeps up with it. I really
Well,
don't.
she doesn't. You can't keep up with lies. You can't.
I don't understand it. I truly don't. And especially, I saw the love that she gave JJ. I saw the love that she gave Tylee. And it's like somebody flipped a switch. And if I was
Was it Chad Daybell that flipped that switch?
we don't know, but if I was Chad Daybell, I'll tell you what, I'd never go to sleep with both eyes closed.
You know, Larry and Kay are really the heart, to me, the heart of this case, because it was their love for JJ that brought everything and pushed everything forward. And it seems they know a lot, Ashley.
I feel like they know a lot, but not enough. You know what I mean? I think it was Kay who discovered in the financial records the purchase of the wedding ring that Lori had bought in order to have this wedding with Chad just mere days after Chad's poor, lovely wife, Tammy, had expired under investigation. But here's something else that's really fascinating about the Woodcocks. They remind me a little bit of George and Cindy Anthony, and I say a little bit. And that's because they were grieving grandparents, right? And they were sympathetic to some. And they had to sort of stand by as their granddaughter was missing for a long time, begging for answers, begging Casey Anthony to say something. Very different story, but at the same time, some of the same sympathies. And so it'll be fascinating to see the dynamics between them in court, if this ends up in court, and Lori, for sure.
Yeah. How about Lori's non-dead brother? Not Alex Cox, but Adam Cox. What about him? I don't even know much about him.
So he's going to be an intriguing character. We don't know a whole lot about him, but so Adam has an interesting tangent to this, in that dead husband Charles, reached out to Adam before he died, just weeks before he died, saying, I got this really weird email. I think that Lori has used my name and is communicating with Chad to make it look like me, to lure him down here, or at least to suggest he come down here and suggest some kind of an alibi. And the police got their hands on that. So I believe that that Adam is going to be quite helpful, because let's not forget, he also has a dead relative in all of this. His brother Alex is dead now, and it's suspicious and it's being investigated. I don't know where his allegiance is going to be, to his dead brother or his charged sister. So another fascinating family dynamic.
All right, then there's Lori's niece, Melani Boudreaux, and her ex, Melani Boudreaux. We talked a little bit about them the other night. They're on the list, and they're supposed to be, at least she's supposed to be cooperating with investigators, according to her attorney.
I hope so. I hope that's the case. Take with a grain of salt. What an attorney says is in the best interest of his or her client. However, what's fascinating about this couple, Brandon and Melani, now divorced and in a very contentious custody battle, she was all in on the cult, as Brandon says, and she's thick as thieves with her auntie, Lori Vallow, as well. So that is a dynamic that has to be taken into account. Very, very close relationship. And some of the things that Brandon has said about her in court documents is pretty over the top. Like, she said something along, I'm going to paraphrase, she said something along the lines of, Lori thinks her children have been taken over by zombies, or something like that. And then he also said a quote that his wife, Melani, said, sometimes kids are full of light and then they just go dark. But let's not forget, these are court documents in a contentious child custody dispute. They all have to be taken with a grain of salt. Those are just 5 of the 50 witnesses. I hope you have a whole lot more nights to go over these witnesses, because they're all super fascinating.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. We will. We only have like 30 seconds left, Ashley, but I know you're going through a lot of questions that people had on social media. Did you want to answer one of them?
So Sherry Humes Bogunia says, I know you can prosecute without bodies. So can we not prosecute her for killing her children? There's so much evidence there. Just wondering. Well, we don't know that she killed her children, but what about that? Vinny, why not a murder charge in terms of the children being missing?
I think you can. I think investigators and especially prosecutors like I was are hesitant to go forward before you have remains. And that's always the toughest decision to make. You know, I have evidence, but I don't have the body. The case is so much stronger if I have the body. So you have to kind of play that balance. But you certainly
Not
can
impossible,
do it.
though.
The question
You can.
is, not impossible. Yeah, we've seen it.
Yep. Do we have time for one more question?
One more.
Okay,
Bonus
ready?
question.
Dharma Morton. Well, I hope so. These Facebookers were great today. Dharma Morton asked, have investigators used cadaver or tracking dogs at the homes, Yellowstone, or the storage unit? It's a really good question because it would be nice to know what dogs could pick up.
Absolutely. And the whole issue with Yellowstone is they're waiting for the thaw because that part of Yellowstone, if not all of Yellowstone, covered in snow. So that's going to be a huge part of what happens once it's all melted and they can go back out and search. And I think that's the first place they're looking because the photos that you have, the last photos we have of Tylee, that's where she was.
Yeah. Yeah. And real quickly, just because I'm going to squeeze in a question and answer all in one in 10 seconds, Lavero, Wiedekin, Kennison says, can they make her talk? Hook her up to a lie detector. That's not admissible in court, and you can't make someone talk, Cheryl. It's a really good question, though. You can ask her, but she's got a 50 minute right to protect herself, right? And so that's that.
Absolutely. Ashley Barefield, thank you so much.
Okay, Vinny.